So we tend to see some sort of deadlines, or probably you can say that this is the deadline for completing a work. That is SLA. And when it comes to Pega's SLAs, we have three milestones, you can say: goal, deadline, and past deadline. So goal time within which you are expected to complete that assignment or the task, whatever is given to you. Deadline time means that your goal time is already completed, but still you are pending with your task. That would be your deadline time. As in, you can say it is still not late. You can still act on it. Would be your deadline. If after the deadline also you don't act upon it, it would be moved, or it goes beyond the past deadline. To give a simple example here, so we generally get, or we tend to fill in the timesheets every week, right? So we get, for example, let us take this scenario that you need to complete or fill in your timesheets by Thursday every week. So Thursday will become your goal time. Still, probably for whatever reasons, your deliveries or whatever, you did not fill it on Thursday. So you will still time till Friday. So it's not late. I can fill in the timesheets. So this would be my deadline. And after Friday, it's already late. You still did not fill the timesheet. So that becomes your past deadline. Okay. So after past deadline, you keep on getting reminders saying that you need to fill in your timesheet. So that a reminder for every day until you finish. So those are your past deadlines. So when you look at this context, goal and deadline will occur only once, whereas your past deadline can occur multiple times. Right? So unless I fill in that timesheet, I will be getting on reminders. That's because of your past deadline. Yes. So this is how we will try to define the service level agreements. So let us see how it can be defined on the case time. Okay. And before directly jumping onto it, we have one more important terminology here, which is called urgency. So how urgent it is to complete the work is also important. So urgency is something that defines the priority of your work. Which assignment to be taken first is depending upon your urgency. Just to give you a context of urgency here, let us take a scenario. Okay. For example, assume I've planned a vacation. Maybe this is July, right? Okay, I planned my vacation in August. Okay. Now, as per my organization policies, I would have to get my leaves applied and approved in the prior month itself. Okay, probably by this month, I should get all my leaves applied and approved. Okay, at least for planned leaves. Now, I will wait until July 1st. I'll see that my leave window would be open, and I will immediately apply my leaves. Okay. Now, the window closes, assuming the window closes at 20th. So whatever action is being taken on it is like fine issue. So by 20th, I need action to be taken on it. Okay. Now, if I talk in terms of urgency on a scale of, for example, 0 to 100. So what would be the urgency on day 1, July 1st? So I would think there is like 20 more days for getting this approval done. So initial urgency would be 0. Right? I don't have any urgency there. There's a lot of more time. What about July maybe 7th? Is there an urgency here?
Not yet, isn't it?
Right. It's not 0, right? It has to be.
Yeah, it's 7 days past.
Correct. It cannot be 0. Probably I'll put it some 20.
Okay, in percentages, you mean?
Yeah, probably talking in terms of in the scale of 0 to 100.
Okay.
Now, on July 16th, what would be the urgency? Will it be 20? Will it be 0? Or
No,
it would
I think
be.
it will be 50, isn't it? Can be around
Yes.
50.
Definitely something more than.
Yeah, greater than 50. Yeah.
Now, on 20th, what would be the urgency?
Yeah, 75.
Probably a maximum. I can put it to 100 because 20th is the time I need some action on my.
Oh, I
Either
thought it was 30th. Okay, so 20th is the action. Yeah, then it's 100. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the goal.
Okay. Okay. Assuming 20th is the time within which your leaves have to be approved.
Okay, so 16th I was telling 50%.
Right. So it has to be definitely, high.
Yeah.
Because until unless it is the urgency is high, I cannot have someone acting upon it. Right? It's an emergency there. I want somebody to act on my leaves. Right?
Yeah.
Because I do not know whether I have to pack, whether I have to book tickets. I do not know anything. So I want some action. So urgency is also important when it comes to SLA. So
Yeah.
let us see how do we define this. Let me take you back. Let's type again. And now, on what steps do you think this SLAs could be there? Any guesses? Is it automated steps?
SLS,
Hmm.
it can be automated also because you will set it and then it will send emails.
Automated steps will anyways be, either if you are like scheduling it or if you're having it run in the back end, it takes immediately, right? You don't need to tell that, you don't need to escalate them or you don't need to set timelines for them.
Yeah.
So, steps do you think need these urgencies or this sort
That's
of
wherever there's an approval step, there urgency is needed.
probably approvals? Yes, correct. And any other other than approval?
Others, if a task has to be completed, like what we can say,
Exactly.
the interview, like in this process, recruitment, you will have the urgency after the candidate is applied. You will have your own deadline to screen and proceed it to the next step.
Human interaction is involved, and
Yeah.
even because that's where we try to postpone things need to be, kept a whole deadline and all of it in order to complete the assignment on time. So to observe on the steps, I can have the SLAs. Now I've just clicked on get personal info, and on the right side of I have the goal and deadline. Right? So currently there's no SLA being used, but I want this to be implemented now. So I have a custom SLA and an existing SLA. Existing SLA.
Sorry, how did you go here? Because last time you found there was status there, isn't it? So this time, how did you click
So
it?
that's on the general. I just changed the tab.
Oh, okay, goal and deadline.
Yeah. So existing SLA, as in the system has provided few SLAs already. If they suit any requirement, you can use them. If not, you can create your own SLA. So custom. Okay. So we will be defining what our goal and deadlines have to be. And typically on the App Studio, you can address only the goal and deadline. But if we want to check the past deadline, we have to go to Dev Studio. We will have a
Sorry,
look at that.
for what we have to go to Dev Studio?
For defining your past deadlines.
Oh, okay.
So even though if we are business architects working on the App Studio, sometimes we keep going back to the Dev Studio for a few things. I mean, just
Yeah.
at least context of the certification, we have probably practically we should not be working on it, but at least to get through the certification, so we have to go back and forth to the Dev Studio. Okay. And these inputs related to your goal deadline and what actions have to be taken. Suppose if time is not met, what has to be done? Is it has to be escalated to somebody? Do I need to
Yeah, I think
inform?
accordingly we might have to send emails, isn't it? If it's automated, like if the deadline has passed, then one kind of mail, it might go to manager's manager or something like that.
Was it like you want to notify the attorney or you want to notify his manager or
Yeah,
what do you
initially it might be with the when it is with us, it might send a occasional reminder every time before the goal for us to complete. But once it's past deadline, it might go to both of them saying that it's past deadline and it has to be acted
exactly,
immediately.
exactly. So for each of my timelines, I can take an appropriate action.
Hmm.
It could be like I can also decide how much amount urgency has to be increased. So as the time goes on, you need to keep on increasing the urgency as
Yeah.
well. So for
So you
each
have a
line, you will be able to
place to
define
set the urgency.
correct. Exactly, exactly. Yes. We
So
should
the
be doing
system,
that
when you
now.
set a base value, will the system increment it automatically as time passes?
Yes. So the default value would be 10 for any assignment. I mean, we can set our own default values also, but the system has suggested that 10 is the minimal urgency for any assignment. So we can check whichever works best for us and we can go with that particular one. Mm, okay, I think this is better. I am at least getting the admin studio. Yes, so let me select the tab on which I want to have the SLA. On the right side, this time I'm going to use a custom SLA and goal and deadline. Here you can set both days, hours, and minutes, seconds as well. But now, if I put it to 10 days, I should wait until 10 days to check whether it's working or not. Right? So
Yeah.
I'll put minutes so that I should be able to see whether my SLA is working or not. Maybe
Yeah.
3 minutes or 2 minutes is my goal time, and increase urgency by how much amount you want to increase the urgency if the goal is not met, or if the assignment is elapsed more than the goal time, probably like 20. And what action you wanted to take? You want to notify somebody, you want to reassign the case to someone else, or you want to resolve the case. So if no action has been taken
Sorry,
until,
one question here. Like it is 0 to 100, it is 10 is the default. So if you're setting,
right,
you're expecting it to, like the deadline is in 10 days. Is it working in days or how is it working actually? Like if you're setting 10, what does that mean?
10 as in where is it on the days you're asking?
Oh, that is the days. Okay, sorry, I took my spot.
I did not get.
Oh, okay, that's the days. Okay.
So
And
this is
the
the
urgency is in percentage, isn't it?
right. I mean, not an exact percentage, but it's a scale of 0 to 100. It's a metric, 0 to 100 scale.
Okay.
Right? Initially, it would be 0. But if your assignment is not taken up or not acted within the 2 minutes or whatever your goal is, then you are increasing the urgency to 20. So whatever initial urgency is there plus 20. Okay. Now, what action are you going to take? Is it like you're going to notify somebody, sort of an escalation? You want to reassign the case to someone else, or you want to resolve the case completely? So resolve the case as in probably your goal time is 3 months and the 3 months is passed, no action on it is taken, then you will resolve your case. So obviously depends upon the requirement, right? What you wanted to do. I want to probably notify someone. Whoever is the assignee, I want him to be notified. And you can decide what message has to be sent. You want to compose it or you want to use the default method. We can deal with all those emails and stuff. Okay. Now my goal is set. And the next thing is to set your deadline. Okay, I cannot have deadline as 2 days now. I'll put the 0. And this will be for 4 minutes. So 2 minutes and 4 minutes is the goal and deadline. And even for deadline also, if the assignment is not acted within 4 minutes, what is the urgency that I have to increase it by? So earlier it was already 20. Now with plus 10, it goes to 30. So this is the increment, the amount with which it has to be incremented.
Okay, so from the goal, it is the increment.
From
So
the
20
whatever
you have
is the
said there,
yes,
plus.
yes.
Okay.
Plus, okay, it's not like we are setting the urgency to this value. No, we are incrementing the
Increasing
urgency.
the, okay. So there you're
Let
setting
us
the value, you're incrementing it.
correct. Here also I'm not setting it. This is also about incremental. Initially, it would always be 0. Okay, so 0 plus 20 now, or 20 plus whatever here it is. If
10,
it is 30, 20 plus 30. 50 will be
50.
my final urgency.
Yeah.
Now if I just try to run this. So yes, here is my transaction. Let me advance it. right? So here you see on the top. So 2 minutes from now is your goal time, whereas due in 4 minutes from now, this is your deadline. So you can see the goal and deadline are now being impacted. Right? So if you also observe the urgency here on the open assignments, you see a clock symbol, right? So it says initially it is an urgency because you still have a lot of time for your goal and deadline to be elapsed. You see, it is a low urgency. Now, for example, I'm not acting upon it. Let us wait for a minute. We will see what happens. So maybe let me go to actions on the top, and I wanted to refresh it. Right, I'm going to refresh this.
About a minute.
Right, so you see, this is in a minute and this is in 3 minutes. Okay. So let me just go and refresh again. Yes, you see, the goal was less than a minute ago. The goal time was already elapsed. Whereas the deadline time still has 2 more minutes. Right? You see, urgency is still set to low. Right? But once your deadline time is complete, it shows that you are probably in a high urgency assignment.
Yeah.
Right? So these SLAs are for users to understand how quickly they have to work on an assignment. And typically, this job of assigning or putting in some, these timelines and all of it is a decision of both the product owners and the BA. Both together, they have to sit and finalize a sort of. They have to come in a common agreement, and that's when we tend to put in these SLAs. Right? Yeah. So are we good with SLA? Any questions so far?
Not now. I'm getting what you're saying. Just might have to work a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when you do it, you get more questions, isn't it? But otherwise, concept, I've got it.
Right. Okay. But when I have to talk about the past deadline, I can only see that on the Dev Studio. For example, now we have defined a goal for this get personal info assignment alone, not for any other. Okay. But if you each assignment need not be addressed like this, you can have an SLA on the process. I can I can say that the whole process need to be complete in a particular time. I can do that rather than tracking them individually. Okay. Now you can also have it on the stage level.
This will be so like submission will have, isn't it, a deadline, because after that you can't submit.
Whatever time internally it might take. Personal info might take 10 minutes. Education info might take 60 minutes. This might take 20 minutes. I'm okay. But my overall submission should be completed within 3 hours. So I can define that on different levels depending upon your requirement. Or if you're talking about some, you can say about like credit card related transactions, some lost card transactions, then I can define the SLA on my complete case type. My whole of the case type should be completed within an hour, within 2 hours. So internally, how much ever time it takes, it doesn't matter for me. But the case has to be closed in 2 hours. That you can do the settings. So this settings is with respect to the complete case, the case type. So you can choose on what level you have to define.
Set SLAs, define SLAs.
And if you want to have it on 2 different levels, obviously we need to make sure there's a sync in between them. Right? So defining an SLA for an assignment of about 2 hours and 3 hours, okay? And on the process, defining it for 1 hour and 2 hours doesn't make sense, right? Because step is below your process. So we should check, what level you are defining, and you can proceed.
So how it takes when you set it at 2 levels, which takes the precedence?
So the step will take the precedence, or the lower one will take the precedence.
Okay.
And generally we wouldn't go with defining two SLAs on 2 different levels. We generally don't do that. It will take the lower level as the precedence. Here you have your goal and deadline. On the settings, goal and deadline, you can use your SLA. Get all 4 levels: goal, stage, case, stage, process, and step. At all 4 levels, we can have the SLA. Okay. Yes, I told you I should also be talking about the past deadline, right? Where can you see it? If you observe, and whenever you have used an SLA, you get to see this option: Open SLA in DevStudio. If you click on this, so this takes you to the SLA on the DevStudio. It will be a lot more detailed here. Obviously, a lot more configurations will be available. Right? But from the App Studio, we will be looking after only the goal and deadline. Whereas the developers will look after a lot of other actions also. Other than just escalating, they can have a lot of other logical functionalities also coming. We don't need to worry about that. Oh, still opening. Yes. So this is how an SLA rule, edit service level agreement rule, would look like. I told you, right? Initial urgency would always be 0. But if I want, I can change it to 10. So 10 is the initial urgency for me now. These are your definitions. Goal is like 2 minutes. And if you want to calculate only business working days, you can have it. But 2 minutes and using business days doesn't make sense. Right? Maybe if it's like 20 days and all, yes, I can use this. Okay. And amount with which your urgency has to be increased is 20. Then what actions have to be performed if goal time is not met? So if it's like on the App Studio, you can only have something related to escalations. Whereas the developer can see a lot more other things, some data transforms, flows, and all of that. So we are, we don't need to look after these things. Just for your understanding, I'm just taking you through this. Here is your path. Okay, you can decide how many times your past deadline has to be taken. So I want a past deadline to be of 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, 5 times. So every 5 minutes after my deadline time is passed, I want some notification to be sent. Just like your timesheet reminder after Friday. Right?
Yeah.
After Friday, for every single day, for every 24 hours, you will be receiving a reminder. For how many days? For the next 5 days. After which, maybe some other action might be initiated. Like that. You can just have a look at this. Generally, the devs would be working on it. So I can just have a look at this and I can still go back to my App Studio. Okay, but here as a BA, I can only set goal and deadline, but that too with limited set of options. Right? Are we clear so far? Any questions? Are we
Yeah.
good?
Yeah.
Right. But obviously, yes, a hands-on is required to understand these things more clearly.
Yeah. That's true.
Right. The next thing that we would be doing is we will try to configure some UI. I would like to configure some view for this transaction because so far it all is shown as an empty one, right? Without any configures or without any UI. Let us go ahead and I would want to configure some view for this. Okay. And
Okay,
views
all
can be
this we are doing as configurations. So when this application is ready, how does it run? Like what the user sees, where do they see it? Is it
right. So okay, I'll show you. So whatever we have been doing, once you click on save and run, that's the user's view of your application. So that's the actual user's view.
Okay, now I don't, I'm just a user. I don't have any other configuration, right? So what you give them? So what view you give them?
Okay, let me show you. Now, for example, I'm just going to save and run this. Okay.
Okay. I'm just thinking in that perspective because I'm not able to
Yeah.
connect that.
So in fact, we will be creating some operators also going forward. I think then it will be a lot more clear.
Okay.
Okay, but now when I try to save and run this, you see here is the option on the top. So that lets you view the application on different devices. So how it looks on a web browser, how it looks
Okay.
on a mobile or a tablet. So this is the complete end user perspective. Whatever you see from this, the blue panel and the whole of this white or gray background is completely your end user perspective. So if you
Okay.
observe, this is the tablet and you can select what tablet it is and you can
Oh,
select the
that's
type.
nice. Oh.
And you can also choose what mobile you are trying to look at. So you can also see the sizes. Yeah,
Okay,
this is
so
the
when you
tablet
give
view.
them the link, when you give them the link where to access your application, so this is what they will see.
Exactly. So the whole of this App Studio, they don't see. They see only whatever is defined on your preview.
Okay, so
So
this
if
is the
it's
emulator.
this is how I
This
see my application like
okay. Right
this.
now it's just a skeleton, so there's no UI. Yeah, so
Yes. But you still see all the features, all your SLAs, all of that is visible. But we did not define a view yet.
okay.
So this is the web review.
When compared to
So
code writing, how easy it is, isn't it? To build.
yes. True. Okay. So now let us go back and we'll define some view here. Okay. So views are always defined only on some collect information steps. So automated steps do not need a view, right? So let us go ahead. On the right side, you have something called as configure view. So let me select this. Okay. So what kind of information do you think is needed for personal info? I need to add in some fields. Okay. What kind
Name,
of there?
name, address in the sense initials, uh,
Okay. Let me put it this
first
way.
name, last name.
Okay. And you can also choose the type. So first name is a text of a single line. So I
Yeah.
would just Then I also have some advanced options. What is the maximum length that you are looking at and all. For now, I wouldn't want to do any validations. I would just want to define the fields. So let me submit and add other. So let us add in other fields as well. Okay, let me add in like last name. Okay. Then phone number, maybe. So phone number, what do you think should be the type? Can it be text?
It should be a number in the sense.
Yeah, but I already
integer.
have a
phone
type for it.
Okay.
I'm going to use a phone. And then email next.
Special text and special. So it will be text.
So there's already one for email. So I'm going to simply use that. Okay. Then what else do you need? Maybe date of birth?
Yeah.
Okay. For date of birth, can I use a text?
No, it's date and time, I think.
Okay.
Type date and time should be there, isn't it?
Time. So I'll use only date. Date only. Then maybe address. Text. Okay, text, and that too I'll try to use a paragraph for it, not just a single line. I think yes, we are good with personal info.
Yeah.
All the contact details, date of birth, and these details. Okay, let me submit. And if you observe, I can also set them as mandatory fields or optional fields. Ideally, I mean, like frankly speaking,
these are all mandatory.
Right. But the problem is we may run the case multiple times, right? So if you give all as mandatory fields, every time I need to fill in that, only
fill
then
in
I can
those. Yeah, it's okay. This is only for demo purpose you're doing, isn't it?
Right. So now I'm going to one for educational info. What inputs are related on the educational info screen? Maybe university.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, university. Then maybe highest degree.
Yeah.
Okay. So highest degree, what I'll do is, rather than using a text, I'm going to use, or I'm going to provide the user some choice, some radio choice sort of. Okay. So for having those, I would be using a pick list. Right. Now, the system is asking whether you want a drop down, a search box, or a radio button. So typically, when it comes to user experience, so if you have more than 3 choices, we need to go for a drop down. If you have like 1 or 2 or that sort of, we can go for a radio choice.
Radio button.
The masters, so I'll go for a choice here, and I'm going to add my choices here. If you have more choices, yeah, you can add.
Drop down.
And right, university, then highest degree, grade maybe.
Yeah.
I would use an integer for it. Okay. Then what else? Maybe gap in education.
Yeah.
Okay. And let this also be integer. Okay. I think yes. Fair enough. University, degree, grade, gap in education. Fine. Oh, even for experience info, view. So what kind of details you need on experience info screen? Experience.
Yeah,
right?
it should be a text paragraph, isn't it? Why is it integer?
Okay, experience is the number of years.
Oh, okay, experience. Okay.
Yeah. Then maybe, like you said, maybe the tech stack or whatever. That could be a paragraph. Whatever is all the various technologies that the candidate has worked on, all of them can be here. Okay. Then maybe certifications or I'll put it this way. I would also want to collect an information if this candidate is part of my organization earlier or not. Something like is previous employee. So if he is already a previous employee earlier, I might take him through a different process, a recruitment, a different process. So I want to collect this information. So what do you think should be the type for this? Can it be a text? Can it be a text type?
Boolean. Boolean.
Exactly. Boolean. So anything else? Experience, tech stack, a previous employee. Yeah, I think yes. So let's see what if required. We can come back and add these entities later.
What is the error?
No. I haven't given anything, and I just clicked on submit. So it said the table. Okay, now we'll run this. We'll see how it works. Okay, so on create, we did not yet define any screen, so we just advance it.
Taking so much of time.
Yes.
Now you get a UI.
The screen looks like.
And it's showing the 2 minutes from now.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So I'll fill in some details. I assume the candidate would look the screen like this. And this is the user's view of the
This
application.
one, cancel button, save button, submit button. When you do a UI, it automatically comes or what?
Exactly. Right. So I don't need to configure anything like this.
Yeah, because to write a code behind that submit, save, cancel, it takes a lot of time, isn't it? But here you get it automatically. It's so great.
So let us fill in some information here.
So what is the coding back of this? Like,
It's all in Java, OOP based, object-oriented programming.
Okay.
So behind which the code that is generated is all OOP, Java.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to add in some details. And if you see, I've just given a here on the email, but it says there has to be a valid email address. So at the rate
because the type is email, even that is validated, isn't it, by the code in the background?
Yes. So if I give something else here, okay, probably. So if I give something like this, it says enter a valid phone number because it is validated. Okay? Even yes, date of birth. I've got a calendar. Right, so I can choose. Okay, so date of birth is chosen and some items. We submit and it has to go to the next screen now. Yes, educational info. So university and a choice. A grade. Grade is an integer, right? So if I try to fill in alphabets here, the system isn't taking it all. Right. And then gap in education, maybe 2 years. Or when I say gap in education is in months, I mean, as per the instruction, maybe I'll give like 12 months, probably 1 year of gap in education. Submit. So this is your experience, the tech stack, and when you use a Boolean, this is how it turns out to be on the front end.
Oh, okay.
Like a checkbox, a true or false.
Yeah.
Now when I submit, rest of the flow, I mean, we haven't configured the
Yeah, it was all optional.
Just continue. Yes.
That's
Okay.
great.
Right.
Hmm.
So on
That's
this,
interesting.
so
Because it's
on
so
this,
quick to build app, isn't it? A simple app.
exactly. Yes, yes.
Because otherwise, to build a submit only will take such a long time. And
True,
here,
true.
submit comes automatically.
It's like almost 6 times faster than the conventional coding.
Yeah, because to make an email type, you need lot of validations, isn't it? To make
Exactly.
type email, like you need to parse it, you need to check what is the data
True.
given,
Very
inputted data, and then
correct.
yeah. So this one, how do we do the login authentication for the people? Even that has to be a screen, isn't it? Even that should be a
Right. So yes, we will be discussing that. We have something called as access groups. This access group is something that lets you log in onto a particular application or on a particular user portal.
yeah. Even now, this person who is making an application to the recruitment, it will ask, isn't it, to sign up or to log in or to be a guest.
Correct. So this login that we see, right, the home screen login. So that is the login we have. So any user who logs in has to be through that point only. He could be an admin, he could be an actual end user, a manager, anyone. They should be able to log in with that home screen itself.
No, no, but now this to the same app you will be giving access to multiple people once it's developed. So how is that?
Correct.
So for that you need to build a login screen, isn't it?
Okay,
Login
isn't it
UI.
like you might sign up screen or
Ah,
something?
exactly.
Right. Yes,
That
we can.
that's also a case type, isn't it? Because before coming to, so can it be a create step? Because we have not done anything in create, isn't it?
Because once you see this, you see these new dashboard, all of it means that you're already in the application. Yeah, until unless you log in, you cannot see all of this, right? So you see RECIMPL means you're already in the application.
Yeah.
So before
That is for the
we
people who are doing it, our testers or anything. But now a candidate in the internet, I'm saying, a
right,
candidate
right.
who
Even
comes to your portal.
no, the candidate also he has to log in from that home screen itself. We will be validating his access groups and then only we will show the appropriate portal to him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Typically
So
like
that will be
developer
looking later. Later we'll be looking at it. Yeah.
not
Okay.
exactly login and sign up are a bit more than a CSA concept. It's part of CSSA. So it's like a bit of
Okay.
complicated.
C double SA. What is C double SA?
Yeah. It's not even the CSA. Certified Senior System Architect it is.
Oh, it's their job to do that. In the sense,
Right.
you need to have more knowledge on that to do that.
Exactly. Because it deals with a lot of rule forms and all. So, yeah.
Okay. So we'll not be looking at it. We are only looking at as a BA.
We
We are
will be
looking at.
looking at the access group part and all of that. That we will be looking.
Yeah, but when you're building application, there will be business users questions, isn't it, about the logins because they will have their own idea about how they have to log in and how the. So it is part of also BA, isn't it?
Not exactly. Here, this authentication, the types of authentication that we look at, I mean, that typically Pega developers look at, be it basic or OAuth or unauthenticated, that's part of the dev portal completely.
Okay.
Right? I mean, here also we tend to look at a little related to the access and stuff, but more deep ones would be from the dev studio only.
Okay. No, I understand the building is from Dev Studio because we can't build it. It will be the part of Dev Studio, what they have to do. But there will be business requirements saying this, how secure it should be, isn't it? Like they might have their own
Mm-hmm.
requirement to come to the
Right, right,
website. That's what I
correct.
meant. They may not be
Security.
knowing the technical details of it, how you do it, but will have their business specifications, like what they want.
Mhm. So business specifications, again, it's the job of us BAs to provide those inputs to them. So we don't do it directly on the application, but
Okay.
we will do those inputs.
Yeah, that might be one of the documentation, isn't it?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Great.
So probably the last thing that we will be looking at is related to how do you deal with controlling your case workflow. Okay, so how do you deal with defining your or controlling the case workflow? Okay, so let me just go back to the case life cycle once. Okay, and so the first thing that we will be looking at is optional actions. So sometimes, like when we visit some resorts or something, okay, so they tend to give you some complimentary stuff, as in like a swimming pool is available, or they say a spa service is available, okay, or gym is available. Means that it is available and you use it. Right? They're sort of optional. So if we want, we can use it. It's not like everyone whoever has been into the resort, they have to go to the gym or they have to use the swimming pool. No, it's an optional thing. Similarly, here also in our transactions, we will let some actions be optional. Say they don't need to be a mandatory part of your primary path. It can be on the optional side, right? For example, updating contact details. Should it be a primary path or should it be an optional action?
Updating contact details should be a primary path, isn't it?
No, updating as in I already have the details, but if I want to update,
Oh, that's the optional.
that's optional, right? Like when you probably looking
Not
at your
everyone
bank.
wants to update. Yeah.
Yes, not everyone who
It's
registers
only
need
when it's changing or something like that. Yeah.
exactly. So here also we have certain optional actions that are possible. If you look at life cycle, on the right side you have the optional actions. So let me select. So these optional actions are out of sequence actions. The user, he tries to launch the optional action, then it's his choice whether he want to come back to the main process again or whether he want to resolve the case. To give you a simple example, suppose we are trying to order something online. Okay, so you have chosen all your products, you have added onto the cart, but instead of paying the amount or instead of making a payment, you chose cancel order, right? Cancel order means once that screen is visible, once you verified or once you submitted, I cannot come back to my original screen, right? Or I cannot come back to the beginning of my transaction again. Right? It's an out of sequence action that you have chose and that is completed, with which your case is now resolved.
Yeah.
It doesn't return, it always doesn't need to be coming back to your original transaction. On the other hand, if you are dealing with some update contact details, so you can update your contact details, come back and finish your transaction. So it depends upon the kind of optional action that you are looking at. Okay. Now on the optional actions here, you see this case-wide action and there is stage-only action. So few actions are available throughout the case. So something like updating contact details can be available throughout the case. Right? And few actions are specified. They are only part of that particular stage. Any other stage I look into, I don't have those optional actions. Right?
So you can set it to that stage.
Correct. And when you suppose my requirement is, I would like to add an optional action on the interview. Okay, where, for example, an HR wants to update some experience details of the candidate. So what I could do is click on more. If you want to add something new, you can do it. If not, you can click on more. So you have two kinds of optional actions. So there's a process, there is a user action, which defines the number of screens you are going to handle. If it's a single screen action, you go for user action. Or with multiple screens, you go for a process. Right? Like cancel order that we discussed. Cancel order cannot be a simple screen. They will ask you a lot of questions. Like, is there an inconvenience caused? Or tell us the reasons why you are canceling something. So they will take you through a series of screens. Right? That is the scenario. You go for using a process. Right? Otherwise, you can use a user action. So this shows all the processes that are available on your application or on the case type. I want to use a assignment here. So let me use a user action. I wanted the HR. So once I submit, only during the interview, the HR can change any of my contact details. Or let me put it this way, experience details. Okay, but once the release offer is done, or once I'm in the release offer, no changes can be made on the experience. Whereas I will define a case-wide action for defining or updating my contact details. So that can happen anywhere, right? I can request for a change of my email or change of mobile number, and that can be done anywhere. So let me use this get personal info. So there is a case-wide action created. There is an optional action also created. Let us see. I'm going to save and run this. Okay, let me advance it. And where can I see all the optional actions? You can see it under the actions here. Okay, so is this not saved? Let me just save it. Okay, let me first add in some details. So hello world, some phone number, ABC, then yeah, medium, this is the one. Let me submit. Okay, I'm still under the submission stage here. So see a case-wide action. Yes, I see the get personal info. If I want, I can go back to the screen. I can make changes. I can come. See, onto experience info. Okay, now if I want, for example, I see that maybe my phone number has to be changed. I can click on this. Yes, so I on the get personal info screen again. So probably a change in the email XYZ. Let me submit. So I'll come back to my original screen where I've started. So this is like, even though it is an out of sequence action, I have come back to my regular path. Let me submit. Now I'm on the interview stage. So which means I see two optional actions. One is for experience info, one is for personal. Both I can see. Okay, let me advance this. Now, for example, if I want to go back to experience info, yes, I'm on the screen. 5 years, Java, JavaScript, Python, something. So I can add in more details. Yes, so I'm back onto my earlier screen. Once it is approved, once I'm through this stage, I only see one optional action. I only see get personal info, whereas experience info is no longer available. Why? Because that action is a stage only action, available only on that particular stage. Clear? So this is how you will be able to add in some optional actions onto your application.